Are cash offers really always the best option for sellers? Because if you've been around in real estate for more than a few minutes, you've probably heard some version of cash is king. And while cash offers can absolutely be strong, they're not automatically the best. And sometimes they're not even close. I want to walk you through how this actually plays out in real life because I see sellers attempt to leave money on the table all the time by defaulting to the word cash instead of looking at the full picture. Let's start with why cash offers have the reputation they do. First, cash feels safe. There's no lender, no loan approval, no waiting on underwriting, and closings are usually faster. And emotionally, sellers like the idea that nothing can fall apart because of financing. All of that is true, but here's the part that most people don't talk about. Most cash buyers expect a discount, and sometimes a hefty discount. Cash buyers know that sellers love the idea of no financing, so they use that as leverage. They're not bringing cash out of generosity. They're bringing it to negotiate. And in many cases, they expect the seller to trade price for speed and certainty. So when a seller gets a cash offer, it's often lower than the financed offers on the table. Sometimes it's a little lower and sometimes significantly lower. This is where sellers need to slow down and ask a better question. Not, is this cash, but what am I actually netting? Because speed doesn't pay your next mortgage, your net proceeds do. Now, let's talk about financed offers because they get dismissed way too quickly when up against a cash offer. A lot of sellers hear loan and immediately think delays, appraisal issues, or deals falling apart. And yes, those things can happen, but they don't happen equally across the board for all financed buyers. There's a huge difference between a shaky buyer barely qualifying and a well-qualified buyer with strong income, solid reserves, and a good local lender who knows what they're doing. A strong financed offer often comes in higher on price because that buyer isn't trying to buy the deal. They're buying a home to live in and they're willing to pay market value or even above it because they plan to stay. And here's something important. Inspections and appraisals aren't exclusive to financed buyers. Cash buyers still inspect homes. Cash buyers still negotiate repairs. The leverage still exists with cash buyers. So when sellers think they're avoiding negotiation by choosing cash, that's not always the reality. What actually matters is how clean the terms are and how likely that buyer is to close. And that's where experience comes in to figure all that out. When I compare offers for sellers, I'm not just looking at cash versus loan. I'm breaking it down line by line, category by category. Purchase price, closing timeline, closing costs, any upfront repair requests, potential appraisal risk, buyer strength, and most importantly, what are your seller net proceeds? I've seen plenty of situations where a financed offer beat a cash offer by 10, 20, even more $1,000 once you actually run the numbers. And I've also seen cases where cash absolutely was the right move, especially when speed, certainty, or condition mattered more than price. There's no one size fits all answer. Let me give you a realistic example. Say a seller receives a cash offer at $900,000 with a 10-day close, which sounds great, clean, fast, and simple. But there's also a financed offer at $950,000 with a strong buyer, a solid lender, and a 21-day close. If that finance buyer appraises, closes on time, and doesn't nickel and dime repairs, that seller just made $50,000 more for waiting an extra 11 days. And that's not a bad trade-off. Now, if the finance buyer is weak, the appraisal is questionable, or the terms are messy, that changes things. And that's exactly why the comparison matters more than the label. Another thing sellers don't always realize is that not all cash is equal either. Some so-called cash buyers still rely on private money or post-closing financing. So cash doesn't automatically mean zero risk. It just means no traditional lender. This is why sellers need guidance, not assumptions. The best offer is the one that gives you the strongest combination of price, certainty, and terms, not the one that sounds best at first glance. And this matters even more in markets like San Luis Obispo County, where prices are high, buyers are competitive, and a small percentage difference can mean tens of thousands of dollars. If you're selling or even just thinking about selling, this is one of those decisions where strategy really matters because choosing the wrong offer can cost you real money, and choosing the right one can set you up well for your next move. So instead of asking, should I take the cash offer? The better question is, which offer actually puts me in the strongest position? And if you want help comparing offers the right way, not emotionally, not based on buzzwords, but based on real numbers, message me and I'll walk you through how I break down offers so you can make a confident decision that actually benefits you. Because cash is powerful, but it's not always king.